One of the songs that took over India in 2001 came from a movie about three young and ambitious friends. Remember? How old were you? The craze around Koi Kahe, Kehta Rahe from Dil Chahta Hai, the lyrics talking about how the entire world is at our feet, seemed a little boisterous at first, but well, that was the kind of belief that the new generation entered the new century with. Why am I talking about that? On the cricket pitch too, that came to the fore in 2001, just a few months before that song came out. A new century brought a new captain. A new captain brought a whole lot of new talent with an attitude that was starkly different from what the country had witnessed in the previous decade. And together, they did what probably not many had expected them to against a marauding Australian side. Yes, today, on number 6 on this countdown, we are bringing to you the story of one of India's greatest test wins. That win at the Eden Gardens, conjured up by 3 special performances in the Border Gavaskar Trophy of 2001. The 90s was a mixed decade for the Indian fam. While suddenly there was a spurt in the amount of cricket to consume on television, the performances didn't really provide a strong enough reason for the Indian cricket fan to stay tuned in. And that's why emerged that saying, that Indians switch off their TVs once Tendulkar is dismissed. And after defeats against Australia in Australia and to South Africa at home, when everyone was wondering what more could go wrong, came the match-fixing accusations. Indian cricket had hit rock bottom. Indian cricket fans wanted trust after that whole match-fixing episode. And I remember around that time, I got an email on rediff.com where I used to write a column in those days. It said very simply, "Please tell me Sachin is clean, otherwise what else is left?" India needed a show of faith. They needed that trust again. Within a year of those defeats and some unsavory revelations, Australia came to Indian shores with 15 back-to-back test wins against their name. Under the leadership of Steve Waugh, with players like Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, Ricky Ponting, Adam Gilchrist, it was every bit an all-conquering team. And they quickly added a 16th in Mumbai in that first test match. Plus, with no Anil Kumble, no Javagal Srinath for the remaining 2 tests, it just seemed a mere formality from there on. Remember, Indian captain Sourav Ganguly himself was battling bad form after taking over captaincy. That, along with a mixed bag of results, had made him a bit of a target. Who knows, another change in captaincy might not have been off the table. Besides, the next test took the action to Kolkata, his hometown. And by the end of the second day of that Eden test, the writing, it seemed, was on the wall. For Team India, maybe for Sourav Ganguly too, 128 for 8 in reply to Australia's 445. Yes, that was the pit from which India had to crawl its way back. To say it looked impossible wouldn't be an exaggeration, especially when Australia enforced the follow-on 274 runs ahead. Then a decision, arising out of instinct, maybe a stroke of inspiration. India moved VVS Lakshman, who had batted well, to number 3. And even though he had scored a century, it still seemed just a matter of a couple of wickets for Australia. A 17th test win and a first series win in 32 years in India was imminent. The celebration wasn't too far away. And then, something extraordinary happened. Actually, truth be told, Australia should have known better, because what happened on the 14th of March 2001 in Kolkata was reminiscent of the 14th of March 1999. 2 batters, this time India's Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman, decided to not give an inch to Australia. They played out the entire 4th day without getting dismissed. In 1999, those names were equally illustrious. Brian Lara, Jimmy Adams. Just imagine making that Australian team spend an entire day without any success. There's a reason we say cricket's a great leveler. After having won 16 games on the trot, here were the likes, as I told you earlier. of War, Vaughan, Ponting, Bagra, Hayden, waiting the entire day in hot and humid Kolkata for one wicket. While Lakshman had shown enough affinity for the Australian bowling till now, it was quite an important innings for Rahul Dravid. It was a century that he needed at that point in his career, and nothing gave that away more than his rare aggressive celebration, because remember, he lost the number 3 slot too. Well then, the two gentlemen from the south kept the Aussies at bay for 625 deliveries. VVS ended, of course, with 281. Rahul Dravid compiled a mighty 180. Interestingly, less than 2 months earlier, these two men had put together a 409-run partnership while batting together for South Zone in the Duleep Trophy. Who knew then? It would be just the perfect preparation for something special against Australia. That evening of the 4th day, Sourav Ganguly told me India would win the test. He summoned a young Harbhajan Singh and said to me, "This young man will win it for India." It was a huge vote of confidence for a young man from a young captain. But a series-levelling win still looked very hard to achieve, especially when Australia walked into bat for the final session of the test with 7 wickets in hand and their captain looking as solid as ever. Now remember how we began today's episode? Talking about a Hindi film with 3 heroes? Well, young Harbhajan Singh, with a hat-trick in the first innings, had already cast himself as a hero of this match. But then what's a hero without an exciting action sequence to the climax? Bhaji produced that action sequence in the last session as Australia went on to lose their last 7 wickets in 22 overs. India had managed to put a halt to Australia's 16 test win streak. To watch that at the Eden was to see history taking place. Michael Slater had come armed with a cigar to celebrate that morning. It remained unused. And in fact, his teammate Adam Gilchrist, who'd finished with a rare pair in that test, actually broke it in half. It would be a very long time before a follow-on was enforced after that. The belief that this left the Indian team with would fuel yet another victory in Chennai and make Steve Waugh's Mente's defeat after a very long time. And that belief would become the hallmark of Sourav Ganguly's young team for the next few years, the belief that they could take on the world. But more important than all of this was the effect that this series win had on the masses, on the cricket fans. Yes, this team also had bad days, but the people cheering them on believed that their team had put their best foot forward because their trust was back. And that's why, despite having multiple more memorable Border Gavaskar Trophy wins, this win sits quite close to the top among India's best wins and is on number 6 on India's top 25. Question time, like always. While Harbhajan was the star of the Kolkata test with the ball, which other spinner picked up 3 crucial wickets in that final session of the test? So thanks for watching and do subscribe to this channel.